right. You said you were at the North London Derby. Commentating, I assume?
Yeah, I was, yes, alongside Lindsay Johnson. We were very cold. And yeah, it was very one-sided.
Yeah, Arsenal thrashed Spurs 5-0 in the North London Derby. What did we make of the game? Did you expect this kind of level of one-sidedness? It means Arsenal have now won 7 of their last 8 currently in the WSL, scoring 3 or more goals as well in 6 of those wins, which is pretty impressive when you think back to where they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, sadly, I kind of was expecting this. I was hoping not, because especially when you're commentating on a game, it's much better when it's a proper contest. Arsenal were great, but equally Spurs were really poor, just didn't seem up for it. Like even just little technical things like first touches were bouncing off them. And yeah, we saw some fantastic play and some great goals. I mean, I felt for Claire Hunt, she had a really tough afternoon against Alessia Russo, who just kept on turning her, scored an own goal, didn't do much about it. Great for Arsenal, obviously, but really they weren't up against much. And it pains me to say that because I really do, when Spurs play well, which actually they haven't hit the heights of last season, have they? I feel like they can give them a contest. And obviously last season, the win they got at home was brilliant, really amazing. And that, you know, what a great goal to win it. But these derbies generally are very one-sided. So it kind of was what I was expecting. Yeah,
I think that identity is kind of lacking from Spurs this year. They look a shadow of what they were last year. But like you touched on there, won a North London derby at home last season. Just over a year later, though, they kind of look miles apart a little bit, and it almost like they've gone backwards a little bit. It's like Robert isn't 100% sure what to do with the players he has, or he knows how he wants to play, but the players he has can't produce that or something.
Something's going on, isn't it? And we talked a bit about this in commentary. I mean, Sumanen, I think, is a huge miss. So she's been out for a fair few games. But also, I do think, you know, Grace Clinton, they just haven't replaced her. She had a phenomenal season with Spurs. She just seemed to knit everything together. They were on the same wavelength with Bizet as well. They've missed her too. And yeah, they just haven't kicked on. Although having said that, they still sixth? They were ahead of this game. Very strange season in the table, isn't it? But they've lost 4 of their last 5 now, and you know, and we were saying, you know, now that out of all the cups, this game should be it. This should be like, you know, right, we want to kick on. If we get a good result against Arsenal, this could be, you know, the start of something, you know, finishing really well in the table, but didn't happen.
I feel like they've almost got the safety net of the rest, if you like, in inverted commas, also kind of struggling to find their form and consistency. So they're kind of safe knowing that they're going to end up mid-table, and it's almost like they need to ride this season out, because I always like to liken teams, especially teams that are struggling, to like a jigsaw, and it feels like he has all the pieces, he just hasn't figured out how it's supposed to look, or he hasn't got a box to reference or something, and he's like trying to work out, he's putting players in different positions, and you're like, he's not quite nailed the bigger picture almost.
Yeah, I do like him a lot, Robert Vilahamn. Whenever I hear him talk, I do think managers do come under a little bit more pressure now from generally than we used to see. I don't think he is, as you said, because they're very safe, but it's just not been great, is it, this season generally for fans?
I think he's shown that he is a good manager, and tactically he can learn quickly and he can impart that onto teams. I just think maybe much like players, maybe they have a season where they just struggle to find the rhythm or the answer, and maybe he's having one of those, and next season it will be different, and maybe they can start challenging a bit more in these North London derbies. Going back to Arsenal though, what was it like when Chloe Kelly came on? Because that seemed to be a surprising almost moment, because I feel like only weeks ago the Arsenal fans would have booed her, and now she was welcomed with such incredible warmth.
It's the fickle world of football, isn't it, Rachel? Yeah, no, it took me by surprise, I've got to say. Whenever she came out to warm up, there was a huge cheer. And then when she came on, honestly, it's, I think... it'd be interesting to ask a true Arsenal fan, because yes, she sort of started her career there. I know QPR fans get very upset. She actually started QPR, a senior career at Arsenal. She didn't make that many appearances before going off and getting more game time at Everton. I wonder if it's, like, especially for me, she gave us that moment. She's scored the winner in the Euros. We want her to be playing and to be happy and to get back in the squad, which she subsequently has now. So I wonder if it was more from that perspective than sort of an Arsenal fan perspective. But the actual moment itself, it was phenomenal. I mean, the Emirates crowd are great anyway, and it was great to have over 55,000 there again. But, you know, it definitely took me by surprise. I thought, you know, it's not sort of, I don't know, if suddenly Kelly Smith decided to to sort of put on her boots again. I mean, that would be amazing. I would definitely be up for that. But it was, it was surprisingly, but you could see it lifted her. You could see physically she had such a big smile on her face, and I think even she said afterwards she was quite surprised by the amazing reception she got. It was lovely, just lovely, heartwarming stuff.
She came on, for listeners' benefit who maybe didn't watch the match, she came on in the 61st minute, but it was almost like it was the levels of Beth Mead or Viv Miedema coming back, Leah Williamson coming back from ACL. It was that level of raucous applause. So I feel like maybe the saga and the drama of it all brought that out in people as well, the saga of her transfer, her loan deal, what she'd gone through. And it was almost like Arsenal wanted to be like, well, we'll have you and we'll love you the way you're supposed to be loved, Chloe. It was that kind of like vibe. We had a listener question from Catherine on Instagram. The talk has been about CK, of course, but should Beth Mead be worried about minutes? Now, it transpires Beth Mead is pulled out of the England squad, so she has a niggle, and that maybe explains why we haven't seen much of her for Arsenal in the last couple of games. Should she be worried?
I don't think so. I think, as you said, that's explained that she was injured. She didn't even get on yesterday. But I think they now have a huge strength in depth now, don't they, Arsenal, in that position, in those wide positions. Ford, I mean, Morden can play there, but she generally plays down the middle. Kafaji, when she comes back. There's an awful lot of competition there. So I wouldn't say minutes. I think it's a good thing. She's had a fair amount. I think maybe she hasn't, a bit like Arsenal, been a bit inconsistent maybe. But no, I don't think Serena Wiegmann would ever sort of think about dropping Beth Mead.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, that I think maybe didn't recognise the lack of depth in certain areas for the squad, and people were so concerned when Lacasse left. We were often seeing Ford played on the other side. As you say, now there is depth. Now Arsenal can kind of have at least two players of top quality in those positions. And they don't have to, I would like to hope anyway, play players out of position. Ideally not have a Russo out in the wing. And then you'd essentially lose the depth of a number 9 on the bench. Actually you can pull in a winger to play in that natural position. So potentially, I would agree with you. I don't think she should be too worried. Another player that obviously has impressed, I think, for Arsenal has been Mariona Caldente. She's really kind of grown and grown and grown as the league has gone on. In her last 4 stats, she has 3 goals and 1 assist, which is pretty incredible. And listener Neil has asked, do you think either Caldente or Russo could win the PFA Player of the Season? That is Player of the Year this season. That's quite a niche question.
I think,
at least nominated.
Possibly. Yeah, no, I think that's a difficult one, because I was thinking it's probably going to have to be a Chelsea player, but then I think which Chelsea player, because they are now such a team, and I think they've got the most different goal scorers as well. I think they've got like 14 or 15 different goal scorers. No one seems to be really surging ahead in that department, which sometimes tips the balance of a Player of the Year. I think, as you said, definitely nominated. Because I'm not sure who's had a really... Buddy's had another standout year. But for Chelsea, it's... as I say, they've all stood out. I don't really know who's been that sort of consistent. I mean, possibly Millie Bright. She's been great. I think that's fair question.
I would agree. When I read that, I was kind of thinking, who would it be? And then I was like, who has really, really, really stood out? And then you're right. Chelsea have just got such quality across so many players. But have, well, we'll wrap up on Arsenal here firstly, because I'm going to say that's been a pretty good week for Arsenal in terms of the North London derby, and it was topped off by the fact that they announced that Arsenal captain Kim Little will remain at the club until at least June 2026 after her contract was extended by a year. She has made 364 appearances and scored 174 across her 2 stints at the club since 2008. So a good week for Arsenal, and I'm not surprised that she is staying.